Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to stately Vaughan Manor, where Roger and I have returned because it's Wednesday. That means it's Epic Comic Book Wednesday. Every Wednesday, I'll talk about a certain comic book, graphic novel, or comic book subject. Steve Donoghue over on his channel will talk about the same comic book, graphic novel, or comic book subject. It is our world's finest team up that we do once a week. And this week is a very special week because I read a Superboy comic book. I did. I read this Superboy comic book. This one. Now, you see a blind Superboy using Krypto as his seeing eye dog, his super seeing eye dog. As Superboy says here on the cover to Adventure Comics issue number 259, faithful Krypto, now that I'm doomed to a life of blindness, from this day on you must be my flying seeing eye dog. So this is awesome. First of all, Krypto's in it, and Krypto is the greatest character that DC Comics ever came up with. Krypto, that's probably not true, but Krypto's awesome. I love Krypto. So yeah, so I read a Superboy comic book, and so I'm doing this video for a couple of reasons. One is that Steve Donoghue has talked at length. He's Steve Donoghue, my partner in Epic Comic Book Wednesday. He has talked at length about how Superboy is the greatest comic book of all time. Superboy is Steve Donoghue's ideal when it comes to comic books. He grew up reading Superboy, I think. And he absolutely loves Superboy. And he thinks all comic books should be like Superboy. And so I thought, I should read Superboy. Now, I have read some Superboy stories, which have been reprinted in different anthologies. But I've never read just a single issue of a Superboy comic book. Just like an average issue of Superboy. Which this is. So fantastic. Now, another reason I'm doing this is because I received this comic book from a very loyal viewer, Medium John Silver, who really ought to do videos of his own because he's like this super genius guy who reads a bunch of cool stuff. And he very kindly sent this to me. And like I said, he's a very loyal viewer, which is unusual. I usually lose my viewers along the way, but he stuck with me, Medium John Silver. If you look at my numbers, YouTube is obsessed with numbers. So if you look at my numbers, what do I have? 18,400 subscribers now. And so if you look at how many people actually watch me, I've been dumped by 16,000 people. Well, I've been dumped by over 16,000 people. Not everybody can say that. But not John Silver. Medium John Silver has stuck with me all this time. Thanks, John. And thank you for sending me this comic book so that I actually had the opportunity to read a Superboy comic book. Superboy appeared in Adventure Comics, and this is Adventure Comics number 259. It's Adventure Comics 259. And like I said, I've never had the opportunity to read many Superboy stories. Only the key Superboy stories that are reprinted in anthologies now again. The best of Superman anthologies, basically. There's a ton of those. But you'll never get like a Superboy omnibus or something, which would be amazing if they would do. But they won't. And I think it's because Superboy is tied up in rights issues, I think, with the Siegel family, I believe. I think the Siegel family owns part of Superboy or enough of Superboy that it makes it difficult for DC Comics just to do a Superboy omnibus with the original Superboy in it. But I have this one thanks to Medium John Silver. So let's talk about it. Let's find out Was Superboy actually the greatest comic book of all time, the way Steve Donoghue's always going on about? Let's find out, everyone. Okay, so I'm going to pull out this issue of Superboy, and we have to be careful because it's very old and it's come loose from the staples, so we have to be careful as we go through this exciting issue of Superboy. And there are 3 stories in this. There's a Superboy story, there's an Aquaman story, and there's a Green Arrow story. So we'll look at the Superboy story first. Now, one thing you'll notice, first of all, there's the awesome splash page where blind Superboy is being led by Krypto so that he does not run into that plane or run into that tower. Now, you'd think Superboy would be like, you know what, I'm blind, maybe I shouldn't do any superheroics until I figure out a way to cure my blindness. No, Superboy's like, screw that, I'm still going to be a superhero. I'll just use Krypto as my seeing eye superdog. But you'll notice that there are no credits. There are no credits here. None of the stories have credits. So you don't know who wrote or who drew anything back in these olden days, Silver Age DC comic books. Which sucks, but I guess that's the way they did it. So I had to look it up. And so the Superman story was written by Otto Binder. So a name known in science fiction. He wrote a lot of science fiction, Otto Binder. The artist is George Papp. And Otto Binder wasn't that a pseudonym for 1 or 2 writers? Somebody remind me. And the artist, George Papp, it was Papp, right? George Papp, who I'm not sure I've heard of George Papp, but he does an excellent job with this story. Now, the story starts off, then there are a lot of Silver Age shenanigans in this story. So, Superboy is hanging out with his robots. So, Superboy is basically a genius, and he's got a workshop in his house, Ma and Pa's house that he lives in Smallville. And he has a workshop, he has all these robots that he invented because he's super smart, and they can take his place when he needs them to. But this piece of kryptonite landed on this island, which he sees with his vision. And he says, this is an opportunity to teach the super robots how the kryptonite affects me, and that if I'm in trouble, how they should come and save me. And so he goes to the island where the kryptonite is landed, immediately gets weak, and he's like, okay, block off the radiation from the kryptonite with your lead-lined bodies, super robots, which they do. Now, the thing is, couldn't he have just told them to do this? Couldn't he have just said, hey, if kryptonite lands anywhere near me, get in the way of the kryptonite? You'd think the super robots would be bright enough to go, okay, we can do that. And you wouldn't think a demonstration would be needed. But, I mean, that seems risky. And as it turns out, it was. Because while he's there, a lightning bolt hits the kryptonite, which changes its atomic structure. So now both he and the robots, when they look at anything they look at turns into diamonds. And it's horrible and tragic. And actually, he turns a little bunny rabbit into diamond. He kills a rabbit with his diamond vision. And since the robots have the diamond vision as well, he orders the robots to jump into the sea. Just jump into the ocean and just stay there until I could work this crap out. And then he closes his eyes and he can't open his eyes again, because if he opens his eyes and looks at somebody, they'll turn into diamonds, just like that poor little bunny rabbit. I would like to say that no animals were injured in this story, but it's not true. He killed a rabbit. I mean, that must be traumatizing to Superboy. Anyway, Superboy goes home and explains this to his parents. Hey, this is what's going on this week. And they're like, man, every week it's something, Superboy. Now, Superboy wraps like this handkerchief around his eyes. And they're like, well, gee, Superboy, I guess you're done for now. And he's like, no, man, don't worry, my other super senses will compensate for me not being able to see. Don't worry, it's all good, Mom and Dad. And they're like, and so what does he do? He says, I'm just going to keep on being Superboy. I'll just be blind, but my other senses will compensate. No, they won't. He immediately almost causes an air disaster. He nearly knocks down a plane. Then he flies through the top of a building. I mean, he is a genius at making robots, but when it comes to stuff, I mean, maybe he should have thought this through. So he realizes, you know what? My D vision, that's his diamond vision, is just too awful. I've got to leave home, Ma and Pa, until I could work this out. Ma starts crying. And he finds a ship that has a laboratory on it. It's an abandoned ship in the ocean. SS Science, the floating laboratory. I don't know why it was abandoned. Perhaps they created a monster on it or something in some previous Superboy story. I don't know. I didn't read that one. So he's stuck sitting around. He's like, damn, what am I going to do? I'm too blind to like actually come up with a cure. And this is back in the olden days when there's no other superheroes around. And so he's, there's no super smart ones anyway. So he's like, actually, there was Batman. No, wait, no, not yet, because Batman was still a kid. So, yeah, he's screwed. He's screwed. What's he going to do? Well, he remembers Krypto. Krypto the super dog, the greatest DC Comics character of all. So Krypto was a little dog that his dad, Jor-El, flew into space before he sent out Superboy as an experiment. That's right. His father experimented on animals. What a dick. Anyway, he sent Krypto out into space. And Krypto's rocket got hit by an asteroid or a meteor or one of those outer space rock things and got sent off course. But eventually Krypto ended up on Earth only years after Superboy got there. And Krypto was a grown dog by then. Also, Krypto is super intelligent for a dog. He's like super smart, which is helpful. And so Krypto spends a lot of his time flying around in space and getting into trouble on other planets, probably. Krypto is awesome because Krypto is super smart, but basically he's just like a regular dog. He gets in as much trouble as my dog Zorro does, and that's a lot of trouble. Anyway, Superboy calls Krypto with a super whistle and explains the situation to Krypto. I need you to be my seeing eye dog so that I can continue to be a superhero. A disabled superhero. So this was, ahead of its time. But Krypto is still Krypto, and Krypto always gets into trouble. And so Krypto, easily distracted, just like my dog Zorro, is doing all this, but then he sees a dinosaur exhibit, and he sees, look at all those big bones. So he shifts off course when he's supposed to be helping Superboy and grabs one of the dinosaur bones and chows down on the dinosaur bones. And he just gets into all kinds of shenanigans and troubles. Brilliant job illustrating Yippee Krypto. That is pretty much a wonderful image there of Krypto being bad, which looks just like Zorro being bad. But, Superboy gets a hold of Krypto and it's like, come on, man, focus. And so with Krypto's help, Superboy stops a criminal gang. He has some trouble with Lana Lang. Lana lives next door. She wants Clark Kent to come next door, but he's trying to hide the fact that he's blind. So what he does is he puts on these contact lenses. And let's see what he says. This is, so he goes over and he pretends that he can see. I don't know how he gets away with this, but he's wearing contact lenses that look like eyes over his eyes, his D-vision eyes. I only wore these contact lenses with artificial eyes painted on them. I made them of diamond, which stops my diamond vision, just as lead stops my X-ray vision. Okay, how did you do that? When did you make these contact lenses? You couldn't have just made them because you're completely blind. So how are you supposed to paint eyeballs on them? Did you just have these lying around? You know, Silver Age comics, they had stuff like this. Anyway, this sends Clark Kent into the depths of despair. He's starting to realize that he will never be cured. But as Krypto is dragging him around on his blind superheroics, he drags them into the sea because it turns out his robots are cured. It turns out the seawater, the water of the ocean, has somehow cured the D-vision of the robots. So it ends up curing Superboy. And so Superboy is, of course, very grateful to Krypto and gives him a giant dinosaur bone of his very own. It was awesome. It was an awesome story. I mean, it has that Silver Age stuff in it where they're just like, you know what, how does he get out of this? He has contact lenses that'll block his D-vision. I don't know where he got these, but he has them. Medium John Silver, actually, when he sent this comic, sent a little letter to me. And I'll read it because there's nothing like personal or anything. This story has some classic elements of the Superboy stories of the time. Clark Kent protecting his secret identity from Lena Lang, and Krypto impulsively getting into mischief. But we rarely see Superboy in the depths of despair as he is in the penultimate page. And then Krypto comes through for our boy through smarts and determination, proving he really is a really good dog. He really is. He's better than my dog. My dog wouldn't cure my blindness. Also, I have some counterpoints to nitpick that readers of the time may have come up with. One, dogs can't see color to distinguish the balloons. Oh yeah, there was this whole balloon bit that I skipped over. True, but Krypto apparently can, which could either be due to him being a Kryptonian dog or due to him gaining color vision along with his other superpowers. Krypto sees color better than I do. Two, Clark sheds tears, which is salty water, but it did not cure him. Well, the tears were not a lot of salt water, and also seawater has many elements and compounds dissolved in it besides salt. It was seawater, and not just salt water, that provided the cure. It's true. 3. Krypto is rewarded with a fossilized dinosaur bone, but those things are just stone without flavor. True, but Krypto still enjoys gnawing on them with his super teeth. Just doggy instinct. It's true. If you'd seen some of the stuff that Zorro or even Rhonda, my other slightly better dog, chews on, I mean, they just chew on any old crappy thing. I mean, yeah, Krypto has actually, he has higher standards of the things that he'll chew on. Now, there are other cool things in this. One of the coolest things is an advertisement for a future issue of Action Comics that will introduce Supergirl. So this is really cool. This is an advertisement for the premiere of Supergirl. Here is the heroine thousands of DC readers have been requesting for years. What is the story of her origin? How did she survive the explosion of Krypton? How will she use her powers of flying, X-ray vision, and super strength? Will she be an ally or a rival of Superman? So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool right there. Then we get an Aquaman story with wonderful artwork. So the writer was Jack Miller of the Aquaman story. The artist was Ramona. Was it Ramona Frandon? Was it Ramona Frandon? Did I write that down right? Yeah, Ramona Frandon. Hopefully I got that right. If I'm wrong, someone will tell me. But the artwork is wonderful. It's laid out beautifully. It's just beautiful artwork in the Aquaman story. But it does show you how lame Aquaman is. So Aquaman goes up against this mad scientist that can, like, shoot your brain into other creatures for some reason, who is fishing in waters he shouldn't be fishing in. So Aquaman shows up. And how does this mad scientist get rid of Aquaman? He punches him. This skinny-ass mad scientist just punches Aquaman, and Aquaman tumbles into the ocean. what a loser Aquaman is in this story. So, I mean, no wonder Aquaman gained such a reputation for a while. I mean, if any mad scientist can just deck you and knock you off the boat and then transfer your mind into other animals, which he does for several pages, I mean, oh my goodness. See, I told you it came loose from its staples. But the artwork in this story is beautiful. It's beautiful. So there's that. Then we have this really interesting thing. What's your BQ, your brotherhood score? Which is basically this little test to see if you're racist or not. Do you believe all men are created equal? Yes or no? Do you think all young people should have the same chance for education, sports, and jobs? And it shows these different people of different cultures and nationalities and races. And then we see some kids playing basketball, and the referee is an African American. When a new child comes to your neighborhood, do you go out of your way to make him feel at home? Yes or no? If you scored 3 yes answers on these questions, you're okay. If you didn't, you'd better start thinking about it. Which is kind of cool, It has this little public service announcement in it, saying don't be a racist asshat, which is kind of nice to see in 1959. Even back then, with all of their troubles and with all the prejudice all around, there were people that were like, maybe kids shouldn't grow up being racist. Of course, this comic is full of only white people, but at least, you could tell that people knew that racism was a problem. So that was cool. Then you have the Smallville mail sack, a bunch of letters. And then we have a really good Green Arrow story. This Green Arrow story is actually pretty good. The Green Arrow story, the writer, as far as I can determine to this story, is unknown, but the artist is Lee Elias. And he did a pretty good job on the story. And the story is really good. It's better than the Aquaman story. The artwork was better in Aquaman, but the artwork here is pretty good. And so in this story, Green Arrow is hired by this rich millionaire to teach him all of his Green Arrow secrets, which seems like a risky idea. I summoned you, Green Arrow, because I have a $1 million check for your favorite charities, if you'll train me to be a master archer like yourself. And he's like, $1 million to charity? Okay, I'll teach you everything I know. I mean, why not? What's the worst that can happen? It's not like he's going to become an evil supervillain. Oh no, he does! He becomes the Crimson Archer, and he uses all of Green Arrow's skills and secrets to become an evil archer. Didn't see that coming a mile away. Don't worry, Green Arrow outsmarts him. That's how you defeated villains back in the olden days. You outsmart them. But this was an excellent story. Most of the old Green Arrow stories that I've read, and I've read a few here and there, are excellent. And this was excellent. I should probably stop talking now because I've gone on for 23 minutes and 27, 28, 29 seconds. Is Superboy the greatest comic book of all time? Probably not, but it was awesome. This was an awesome comic book. It was a lot of fun. If I were living in 1959 and I picked this up, I certainly would continue to read it because it's great. These are just great, goofy Silver Age stories. So, yeah, thank you, Medium John Silver, for sending me this awesome Adventure Comics number 259 with Krypto the Superdog. I will catch you next time.